Good morning and welcome back to the program where we talk about the fascinating world of New York City real estate and all the people behind it. I would like to welcome my listeners and viewers in the United States and all around the world. I am Vince Rocco. It is Tuesday morning here in New York, so that means it is Talking New York Real Estate. And at this hour, working on a real estate team offers many benefits that can significantly enhance one's professional growth and success in the industry. First, collaboration within a team fosters a supportive environment where members can share knowledge, experiences, and resources. This collective wisdom not only accelerates learning, but also equips individuals with a diverse range of perspectives and strategies to tackle challenges effectively. We will have all that and so much more as Talking New York Real Estate gets underway on this Tuesday morning. And in the news this morning, Knackel is out. Investment sales broker Bob Knackel was abruptly let go with no notice from JLL last week, where he has been a top name for 6 years, according to a source that told the Commercial Observer. With deals amounting to about $22 billion over the course of his career, Knackel is one of the most well-known brokers in the country. His departure from JLL is sudden and follows the publication of a New York Times profile on him. The sources said JLL has been consistently moving away from the historical model of focusing on individual brokers' star power to instead taking an investment banking approach, putting the client first, the firm second, and the individual broker last. JLL's management saw Knackel's New York Times article, which mentioned the brokerage only once, as the complete opposite of their strategy, the sources said. JLL and Knackel did not immediately respond for a request for comment. And New York City's net rental vacancy rate has dropped to a mere 1.4%, the lowest rate on record, according to a survey released by the Department of Housing Preservation and Development on Thursday. The city had little over 33,000 vacant rental apartments available between January and mid-June of 2023, citywide, out of a total stock of 2.4 million units. And despite adding 60,000 units since 2021, the demand for housing in all 5 boroughs is outpacing the construction of newer homes. And the Tribeca townhouse of the late French architect Thierry Despont, best known for renovating New York City landmarks like the Statue of Liberty and the Carlyle Hotel, has finally sold after 3 years on the market. The 5-bedroom townhouse at 182 Franklin Street entered contract with an asking price of $19.5 million, this according to City Realty. Despont, who died in August at the age of 75, listed the property in 2021 for $25 million. And Cranes is reporting an apartment on Fifth Avenue has sold for $61.58 million, according to City Records. Terrence Chan, chair of Hong Kong-based private equity firm Bay Area Capital Partners, closed on the 4-bedroom apartment at Amon, New York, an ultra-luxury hotel condo with 83 hotel rooms and 22 residences inside the iconic Crown Building. And finally, Wegmans is continuing its foray into Manhattan with a new space on the Upper West Side. As first reported by the New York Post, Danny Wegman, chairman of the Rochester-based grocery store, recently signed a long-term lease with a former 59,000 square foot space of Bed Bath & Beyond. And with me today are Jay Overbye from Brown Harris Stevens, Shane Boyle, the agency, Ian Slater from Compass, and Nile Lundgren's triumphant return from Serhant. Okay, listen, so today we're going to talk about teams. If you listen to the intro in the beginning, we're all about teams today. And these 4 guys here at the table with me, I know them all for a long time. They're here for a reason, because they all are heads of teams. They're all super successful agents. And we're going to hear from them today what makes them tick and what makes teams work for them. And I'm going to say almost a staple in our industry these days. When I first started in the business 22 years ago, and Mr. Overbye over here is right behind me, teams really didn't exist. If you had one in an office anywhere, maybe partnerships here and there, but teams were not what they are today. I think they're a great thing, so we're going to talk about it. So, Niall, let me start with you. So, in the whole scheme of things, what motivated you to pursue a career in real estate, particularly here in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's really amazing to be on this podcast. You know, you and I have been doing many episodes when we first started this whole podcasting scenario. So I just want to say
10 years back.
Hats off to you for continuing and doing such an excellent job. To answer the question, real estate was something that kind of happened to me when I first moved to New York City. I was living with a friend who had bought a house in Bed-Stuy, and I was just saying, hey, I'm going to come to New York and figure it out. I would like to be on TV at some point. And the guy that sold my friend the house actually was like, what are you doing? You should work for me. He owned about 100 buildings in Brooklyn. So I started working with him by chance, to be honest. First day in real estate, I was in a basement in Bushwick with, whiteboard and 3 addresses. He's like, all right, kid, take the keys.
And Bushwick in those days.
Back then, 2009. And I just kind of got into it and found a knack. Did my first couple deals really quickly. And I was like, wow, I think I should get my license at this point. So then I got my license, and the rest is history. I've been doing it for 16 years now.
And we'll talk about your TV appearances in a minute. Ian, what prompted you to come to this wonderful big city of ours, New York, and dabble in the real estate industry? Listen, we all could have done, and some of us did do before real estate, other things. But, we all kind of migrated to real estate, and I think there's a reason why. What was yours?
When I graduated from school, the honest answer is I followed a boy here.
There you go.
Not bad.
And,
Love.
I wanted to work in politics, and I worked for the city council for a summer, and I hated it, and I realized that I just really liked working with people, and I ended up getting an internship through him with the Alexander team when I was right out of college.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Under Sarah Williams. I don't know if you know her, who also worked with them. So they were like, sure, come spend a couple weeks with us, right after I graduated school. And it was kind of everything I liked, fast-paced, entrepreneurial, on your feet, kind of no corporate ladder, no office. And I was sort of just addicted. And now it's been 11 years.
11?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Shane Boyle,
Hello.
tell us your story.
My introduction to real estate was kind of an exit out of the life that I was in, and it kind of just fell into my lap. I was slinging drinks in an Irish bar in Midtown off...
An Irish bar? No,
yeah,
I would never know that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, imagine that. And I had a lease out, and I was going to open up my own space, and I just took a step back, and I was like, I don't want this to be the next 12, 15 years of my life. And how can I replace the sort of getting to know people and the people aspect of things? And one of my friends called me up, and he was like, hey, this broker wants some new agents. Do you want to come down and get your license? And I was like, real estate in New York? I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And I originally got into it to do commercial leasing from all my Irish friends that were setting up bars as well. And I realized that is a tough business to get into, and commercial real estate brokers aren't as kind as the residential brokers. So then I just gravitated towards the residential stuff.
Very interesting. I kind of knew some of that story, but the rest of the fill-in is great. J.K. Overbye,
Sure.
tell us your story.
Well,
I know a little bit about your story.
As you know, it's been about 20 years now.
Yeah.
So time flies. I actually reinvented myself when I came back to New York. Came back to New York in 2004, and I was entrepreneurial. I had my own company in the Midwest. So for me, it was coming back to New York saying, okay, I had unfinished business. And for me, I didn't think I wanted to work for anybody else. I was modeling, I was acting, but I felt like I wasn't doing enough for service, right? Service industry. And I felt like, wow, to love New York, to love architecture, to love the different neighborhoods, what a perfect career. To be dedicated to service and also have a career where you're literally working on your own and still entrepreneurial, I felt like it was a dream job, and here we are 20 years later. Love it.
I agree, and as Ian said before, the entrepreneurial aspect of what we do, the kind of freedom of what we do, the fact that we have, our own way of doing things, leverage things that we want to or not, pay attention to the stuff that we want to, all for the, sake of, servicing our clients and being as best as we can for our clients. But Nile, tell us a little bit about, the team that you now lead, how you got to this, because look, I said it before, 22 years ago when I came into the business, teams really didn't exist. And I used to, in all honesty, I used to look at teams and think, what's the point? I don't really even get it. Why do I need to, because I wanted to be that entrepreneur coming out of corporate America for X amount of years, I wanted to have the freedom. I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to. So I really didn't get what the whole team concept was or the relevant, why it was so relevant. And then I learned, as the years went by. So tell me a little bit about the team that you had, why you do it versus working alone, and how successful you guys have become.
Yeah, well, it's a packed question there.
It is.
So the team aspect, I think, is critical if you want to start doing a lot of business in different locations, right? So the way that I've modeled my business is, first, I have folks on my team that are based on geography, so they're close to certain listings. So if there's an Upper East Side listing, then I have the Upper East Side agent kind of help me lead that, so we could be very accessible with showings, back-to-back appointments, whatever. It's all very easy when you're geographically close. So I tried building my team based on geographical centers around, Manhattan and Brooklyn. By way of background, before I'm at Serhant now. Before that, I was at Compass for 6 years. And prior to that, I had my own brokerage. That's when you and I met. So I built that brokerage from just me to 35 agents in about 2.5 years, which is pretty wild. So I had that whole experience. I understand the pros and cons of building a team. It's hard when you're managing a lot of independent contractors, right? So there's a lot of challenges that you run into as a team lead. But I knew that in order to scale, team is where I needed to go. So I have a lot of business in different parts of the city. So what I've done since I've gotten to Serhant is I've strategically built my team around where my business is, including in South Florida. So I have a partner down there, and a lot of my clients from New York City have moved down there, tax advantages, post-COVID, beautiful weather, et cetera. So what I've done is I've said, hey, look, I need to have somebody down there geographically there in case I get somebody who needs to look today, right? Because, there's only so much you could do if you're in one geographical location. So today my team is about 10 agents throughout New York City and then South Florida. And it's been tremendous because I'm able to service, like what Kyle was saying, is that you're able to service all of your clients no matter where they are and at a drop of a dime. So that's what I've done, and it's been extremely difficult getting there, but at the same time very rewarding because my clients are serviced no matter where they are, and my team is tremendously benefiting from my business because they're able to learn and grow from the business and experiences they get from being
How
on
do
the
you
team.
separate, though, and like the rest of your opinion too, how do you separate in a team concept your clients, whatever, to your team members' clients, requirements or needs, to put it mildly, because we all have our own. Listen, I was a sales manager when I met you at a brokerage that I was partnered in with, and I had a whole bunch of agents, and I also had my own business. So it was like I was running this gigantic team of 60 people, which.
Right.
At the end of every day, you either go home and put your head in a vodka bottle or you want to jump out the window. I mean, it was like, holy cow. But I used to struggle with my clients first or my team members or my agents first. How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big challenge. I always ask myself, is what I'm doing right now directly related to me generating income? So I always ask that question of myself, and a lot of times you can get carried away with managing team members and helping them get over the hurdles. But at the end of the day, where is the revenue coming from for the team? And oftentimes it's coming from business and my clients that I'm personally doing. So I really like to focus on that, although I have a very big, trouble with, restricting myself and not going too far in terms of coaching for my team members. So it's a balance, and I'm really struggling with it every single day, but it's something that you have to be mindful of, and it will work out if you attack it the right way.
And I think what you said is actually correct. You struggle with it every day because if you don't struggle, you're not going to learn.
Right.
And if you don't struggle, you're not going to learn how to do something even better.
Exactly.
I learned that years ago the hard way. Ian, I've been following you for a very long time, even before you first appeared on our show. And it's been a while now. But because your success seems to speak for itself. You just recently, reinvented your team and changed the name and went, all out. Tell us a little bit about the team that you run, why the changeover, because you were successful already. You reinvented everything. And I remember when I first saw that email, I'm like, oh, okay, who's this? And then it didn't take me long to realize it's Ian. What's going on there?
So I'm 32. I started Slater team when I was 26, and it was just me, with not really much of a plan. Like, I was just kind of thought I was good at it and could figure it out. And we started, and we grew, and I just would take on people as they mostly approached me, frankly. And I grew the team and would kind of like mold the people into our image, and we grew and grew. And I think to answer like sort of the question that you just answered, you have to be very open to change and growth as a team lead, and like understand that you're going to grow as a broker, your team's going to grow as a broker, you're going to hire some 22-year-old, and all of a sudden they're going to be 27 and like have real clients much more than they did before. I recognized a couple things about the business as I was kind of like towards the end of Slater team. One, a lot of things were bottlenecking with me because my name was on the door. So it was very, very hard for me to kind of have my junior people run things A to Z without, if there was an issue, wanting me to be involved. Two, it was very difficult for them to pitch more major business under a brand that was, obviously Compass is a great brand, but with Slater team, they always wanted me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like there's a certain amount of business you can do if you are a quote unquote junior agent, even if you're a senior agent, without involving the team lead. Three, like I think beyond even the idea of like the creation of the team, the creation of like the brand is really, really important. It's something I really recognize. And you can now, like for a period, you could grow the team and do a bunch, but then you can grow the brand, and the brand can do a lot for you. So like you talk about expansion and geographics and like more people, it's technically you can do it and say like Barbara Corcoran did it, right? Douglas Elliman did it. Like that was a person. Like they can step back and become a brand. I didn't buy that so much. So I changed the name so it's not my name, so it can grow beyond me, so that I can attract other big brokers that don't necessarily feel that they're operating in a junior way to me. Brought up really my best agent as a business partner. So like that is a great example of just being like totally open to change. And I was like, now I can take this as a baseline and grow it.
You answered my next question to you, why would you change the name from your name, which was very identifiable, right? You had it for many, many years. And just like anybody else, right? You take it and you change it to not a person's name, but to Trove.
Yeah.
I get now why you did that, and I understand why you did that. I wasn't even thinking that, but I have to ask. So, Jay, you've and obviously it's still working well for you and will continue to. I get the fact, that you want to also try and attract other agents who might not want to fall under a person's name, even an experienced agent. But Jay, you've been running a team for years also, and because you and I sat very close to each other in our first office up on the West Side, I watched you, I listened to you, enormously successful both in new developments and then now into resale stuff. For you, what is the mechanism of a team that works for you? Why is it important? We talked a little bit offline before we came on the show this morning. Sometimes you just can't do it all ourselves, and sometimes we need to reach out to other people for some guidance and for help to get stuff done. What was your, reason for bringing people onto your team, mentoring them, and moving forward with doing business every day?
Yeah, so to answer your question, I'm going to use one word: capacity. And
there you go.
And I think about, you learn in this business, and it's my path, but I think a lot of people don't admit the fact that they struggle with potential burnout. You're so good at what you do, you're on call all the time.
Right.
And it's taken me a while. I mean, some of the teams here are much larger. With me, I'm a 3-person team looking for a 4th person, and it's capacity. So I want to be able to have more ability. I want to be able to actually, have a little bit of a life from time to time. Although I love my business, and for me, the most important thing was bringing on someone who could handle operations, right? Who could handle that admin, and then on top of that,
Which is a lot.
bring somebody in a junior. So my approach is more of a junior, I'd be open to a equal, partner if that organically showed up. But for me, the quick answer is capacity, and everybody has to ask themselves, right? Not everybody wants to be on a team, and I also know individuals who are also their hair's on fire all the time, and they are a little bit burnt out, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I had to look back, I probably would have jumped into a team scenario. Now with development, I actually had a team, but that was specifically for those two buildings.
Right.
And so I'm at a point now where I'm in that phase of evolution where I'm walking. I'm not running with, I don't know how many members are on your team.
About 10.
And Ian, how many on yours? 8. Okay, you have 8. And
5.
Shane, 5. So I've got the smallest group. If I have it my way, if the chemistry's right, it'll be 4 before the end of the year. But capacity, it's like, I only have so much bandwidth to be present for not just my clients, but for myself. So capacity is what it's all about for me.
All right, we have to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. This is Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. We'll be right back.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Okay, Shane, give us a little bit of a lay of the land on what the mechanics of your team are, why you find it important. You are currently also working on a very busy and a very beautiful new development on the Upper West Side.
Thank you.
So I get, time, because I did the same thing for years on new developments and trying to run, 60 agents, whatever. Not easy. How do you do it? Or what was the purpose of you putting a team together?
Yeah, I think initially I was very resistant against the team because I did want to do it all myself, and I thought, okay, well, if it needs to be done, I'm the one to do it. And my clients, to Ian's point, they all want you.
Mm-hmm. As Ian said.
Yeah, and how can they get me if I'm shoving the business off to somebody else? But then, it's really trying to Nile's point is scale and growing. And I just had to bring on people to help with all the work. And it's also pretty lonely. I find like when you're on your own, and celebrating wins aren't as fun.
It is.
If you're just yourself, and nobody really gets it. Like you can talk to colleagues, but they don't really care. But
No.
if there's somebody in your circle that knows exactly how hard that was, and you're all celebrating then together, it's such a better experience. And even on the losses as well, it can kind of be hard to go through that to yourself, but when you're all together and you're all going through it together, it's a lot easier. How I set it up was I brought in a director of operations, and that was really hard because that first hire and that first, okay, this is a paid salary position, was really scary. It took me months to get over that because I was like, oh, okay, I really need to be making money now. And then I took on a director of operations because my thing was, if I bring on agents here, I don't want my time to be dedicated to, okay, here's how to educate them through the process, or if they have questions. So everything is directed through the director of operations, so I'm able to still have my own business. And then for deal-specific situations like negotiations, going on pitches, I'm always involved. And so that's worked for me. And then my second hire, almost a month after it, was a personal assistant, Monday to Friday in the office. So I made 2 hires first, and then brought on the third person, which was T, our agent, who I'd been working with for years, and I already had that built-in trust. And that was really able for me to, Sundays where you're out with 5 or 6 different clients, 3 in each or 4 in 2, and during the week. And it's really just about scale then. And then I brought on another agent to help with prospecting and to keep us, continually looking for business.
When you have director of operations and when you have, personal assistants and whatever, and believe me, I've been through it, it's almost like you have more stuff to do in a day because you've got to keep them busy. You've got to keep them informed. They're managing your calendar and in some cases, scheduling your appointments. So the communications between these guys and gals
they do
is
absolutely everything for
correct.
me. Yeah.
It's very important. Ian, we are in a very data-intense business, and we had a show last week about numbers, okay, with our chief economist and Noah Rosenblatt from Urban Digs.
My favorite person.
Mine too. Love him. And his show is amazing. Listen to his podcast. It's amazing. But the bottom line is, we have so much on our plate as it is, from a day-to-day, every day get out there and push sales and push rentals and find clients and whatever. How do you keep up with all the latest trends when you are super busy, when you are leading a team of people, 8 people? How do you do that? I mean, there is so much information. I mean, I can spend an entire day in a week reading just market reports or, whatever my guy over here puts out or Noah puts out. There's so much information. And then when you get all that information, how do you translate that to your potential prospects? In farming for new business.
Bunch of different ways. I mean, one, I put out like a weekly market report that I send to a bunch of people. I'm sure you all get it.
I do.
Get it.
And,
We get it.
For a period, I did that just we did it on our own on Excel, pulling data from like the back end of Compass. And then we felt like Noah's data was probably a little bit better. So we hired him, and I use him now, and we pay him basically like a consulting fee to do the data for us.
Right.
So that's one way, which is just like a consistent drip campaign to brokers and clients and everybody. It's a huge list now. 2, I am very much a believer that like you can't always believe the market reports because they're sort of the past. So you have to do the job. Like you have to go and look and show and be on the ground because like the market today is literally the market today. So like you can't go back and look at a report from Q4 and understand what's going on today, period. It literally doesn't make any sense. So go show. Like do not be a team leader that sits in the office and sends everybody else to like do their beck and call. No. I think that that's another way. And then the third way is if you have a big team, is just like honestly sharing information, which is the best part of having a big team is like getting people to come into the office and talk about what they're doing and talk about what they're seeing and share information. And if you can share information amongst yourselves, then you can kind of share information to your clients and you're going to be ahead of everyone else who's, working alone.
Nile, same thing. I mean, data is important. Data is all over the place. It does change on a almost daily basis. When I first started in the business 22 years ago, we used to talk about the market in New York City, the real estate market in New York City. How many markets do we have in New York City these days? Countless.
Thousands.
Okay. There is not one really that's the same.
Right.
You have trends like interest rates and whatever, but all the markets are different. So, and you're all over the place, as you indicated before. How do you keep up with that?
Yeah, I think Ian said it pretty well. I think the best way that I keep up to date with the market is by actively showing apartments and checking in with the different departments on my team, whether it's, Samir, who too. Yep. He handles new development for me from everything from visits and showings and deals and everything along the spectrum of new development. So him and I speak almost every single day. So by having a new development, you're also you have a real good cross section in terms of who's coming to the property, what their motivations are they cash in a high interest rate environment, what are they domestic, are they foreign? So that gives me a really good cross section every week. Just one property alone,
market report,
we have 10, 20 showings a week. So I literally can call people and say, yeah, I know that the New York Times said X, Y, and Z, but this is actually what I'm seeing. Interest rates are high. We understand that. But look at all the money coming in from China right now. Right. Seven out of the last 10 deals that we've done have been like that. And of those 7, 5 have been cash. So that's real data, and we share that in team meetings. So I think, getting out, showing, doing my own personal deals, understanding that, while compounding that with, the insights from my team members, specifically around new developments, really gives me a good cross-section to be able to speak to with a lot of value to my clients.
Jay, same for you. What's the most critical part of the day for you and the data that you need to absorb, and then make sure that you communicate that to your team members who may not have the same, I remember from my past, not every team member is motivated the same. Not every team member really cares to do the same as we do, right? Maybe learn more than we need to. How do you kind of communicate the importance of data to your team members?
Yeah, well, I hope they're as ambitious and hungry as I am, but you're right. There's no guarantee on that.
You
so
never know.
I don't know if anybody can outwork the team leader. But with that said, listen, the mornings for me are critical. I'm a 4 a.m. guy and getting all my stuff done in advance, and then
Impressive, isn't it?
And then, there's meditation work in there and everything else, but
that helps.
And then it's it's Urban Digs, it's The Real Deal, it's a lot of Greg Heim stuff. It might be Michael Vargas for as much
He's coming on the show next week.
Of course, Vanderbilt Appraisals, who have been just invaluable to I think all of us, and but as these guys have said, so much of it is anecdotal, right? You try to get as much real time. And so, I have some younger guys not as experienced, so they do rely on me. But I also, I'm always encouraging, like, guys, if you're not asking me questions, something's wrong. Like, you should be asking me questions every day, and I love to answer them. And if I can't get those answers, I'm going to get it from colleagues like you guys here, or folks, in my office, or so. But anecdotal, real time. I mean, guys, the last week completely changed this market for me. Just in front of my eyes, just amazing what has occurred. And so, if you look at any past data, it's going to be completely irrelevant. So, real time.
It's interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about the market in a minute, but let's in an uncertain marketplace that we are currently in and have been for a while, and there's a whole bunch of reasons for it. Interest rates, etc. But how do you handle negotiations these days? I mean, I used to think I was great at negotiations in the past, and it was almost like anytime I tried to negotiate something, I would say, yes, I won. 90% of the time, 95% of the time. Today, I don't know that it's 90 or 95% of the time, because negotiations have become a little more difficult. And the reason for that is because of the uncertainty out there, especially when you're dealing with buyers, okay, or even sellers. What is the toughest part of negotiations right now for you as a team leader, but just for you as an agent in this town?
I love negotiations.
I do too.
That's where I get my excitement from and my energy. I always go into negotiations, what's the objective? And I think both parties should leave feeling like they won. I don't think it should
Correct.
be me against you.
100%.
If you represent the buyer or seller and I'm on the other side, it's like we're working together to represent our clients so both of them can win and feel good about it. It shouldn't be, I need to get this price or it's not going to fly or whatever. It's going into negotiation. Okay, where do we want to land? Going back from that, what's the appetite? If you're representing a buyer, can they walk away from it? Are they okay with walking away from it? And they kind of will dictate on where you want to be, But it all comes down to the individual apartment, the motivation of the buyer, the motivation of the seller, and then really trying to make all parties happy.
Ian, what's more difficult to negotiate these days, with the seller or with the buyer, or are they both pretty much, the same in, again, this uncertain market? From what you're seeing in your business?
I think it really depends on the deal. I am finding right now, and we are I literally have price points from $800,000 to over $50 million, so it's literally different at every price point. But generally, I would say the sellers have been inundated with enough negative information for 18 months that they are listening and potentially over-negotiating, versus the buyers are now willing to pay more than I think they were 3-6 months ago. So generally, it's easier to get a buyer who's frustrated by the inventory to pay for something than it is to get a seller to come down, particularly right now. Rather than having a seller dig in, particularly right now as you're going into the spring and there seems to be some degree of exuberance in the market. There's a lot of brokers saying what you're saying. It's shifting. It feels busy. A lot of the sellers are listen, that's a good offer. I understand, but I'm going to wait. And the buyers actually find it's a little bit easier to get them to say, okay, there are a lot of positive trends we're seeing in the market. It might be wise to just pay the number and take it.
See, you're reading my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking about. Because of the uncertainty of the market, sellers are saying, hey, maybe I'll wait a little bit and I'll get that extra $50,000. Or a buyer says, I don't know, maybe I'll wait a little bit and maybe the rate will come down a little bit. Or maybe the seller will come down just a little bit, and so that'll make me kind of feel happy. And I always say in negotiations, at the end of the day, whether you're a buyer or a seller, if you can put your head on the pillow at night and go to sleep and say, hey, I think I did okay here. That's really all that matters. It should not be about the number. Well, but of course it always is. But it should not be about that. It's, did I do okay here based on the conditions of today, based on the market of today? Tomorrow's another whole deal. I talk to sellers and say, well, 3 flights above me, in 2014 got $400,000 more than you're telling me I'm able to get today. I'm like, well, that was 2014, okay?
Yeah.
Whole different
it's not
market.
relevant.
And that's 10 years ago. All right, so come on now, really?
I'm finding like a difficult thing that I'm running into over and over and over again is unless you have an estate sale or someone who left the city, even these sellers, like, they don't really have anywhere to go, a lot of them.
No.
So sometimes I'll get amazing offers, and they'll say, okay, this is almost every day for me now. Like, okay, great.
Where do I go?
Now where am I going to go?
What's next? I just heard that. Right.
It's almost like this domino effect problem where, like, we're our harder thing is finding inventory.
Well, inventory is very depleted right now, and I think, until we see a little bit more of a tick up in the business with rates potentially coming down, as they claim, hopefully by the middle of this year. Don't get me started on Jerome Powell from December saying it's coming down 3 times this year and 4 times next year and on and on and on. Don't get me started. Now we're maybe going to happen in June, okay? So if that does happen, I think the release of more inventory will follow through because sellers will say, okay, maybe I can now get my price. Now, talk to us a little bit about cash deals versus finance deals. In your book of business with your big team, are you seeing more cash deals or are you seeing, a mix of everything?
Yeah, I'm seeing a mix of everything. If we do have mortgages, I've seen a couple of the buyers that we've been working with putting more than 20% down, sometimes even up to 40%, if they have the equity to do it. But I think it's very circumstantial, and it depends on the particular buyer. A lot of buyers, I think, who are cash heavy, they're excited to put the money down now because if the rates go down like Jerome Powell claims that he's going to, help them move down, inch downwards, that will really affect the property prices. And I do think that the prices are really going to jump this year. So if you have a lot of cash, now's a really good time. And I'm seeing those people jumping into the market and with potential like, hey, in a year I could even refinance, take a lot of my equity out and get a much better rate. So they capitalize on a low price now and then they could refi out later.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's the strategy, or should be. But you know how difficult that is to get across to a seller or a buyer, or it's like, they get fixed and stuck in one head, and it's difficult. I have to tell you that, 22 years, I keep saying this in the business, these are the hardest past 2 years in negotiation, in trying to discuss anything with a buyer or a seller. Listen, I feel like I learn something every day in just having conversations with people because it has not been as easy as it used to be, and that's okay because we that too shall pass, and we'll get back to maybe some normalcy, although I'm not even quite sure what normal means anymore in this world. But Jay, what kind of technology, I mean, listen, we talked about data before, but technology is at our fingertips, and some companies have better than others. All companies have, access to great technologies these days, not even to touch artificial intelligence. But what technology do you rely on to keep your team moving, to keep you motivated, and to keep you productive in your day-to-day work environment? I find I'm using tech more than ever before. And that's interesting. When I first came in the business, we didn't even have these phones that are on our laps. I mean, they didn't exist.
Right.
Well, they did, but not in our business, really.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that technology to free me up more. Looking for that, and I'd love to hear from you guys on this. Looking for the CRM that is actually super efficient. Close is something that we are looking to adopt. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Close, but I'm relying on some of the mainstays. They have improved. Resource and now we're looking at Close, but I still am not completely satisfied with finding the most efficient platform because I still feel like I am at a point where I'm using multiple platforms, and it would be nice to be able to integrate all of those. I feel like we still have many islands that I'm working on now. I have more choices for data. But I think Close, I'm hoping Close is one of those products with its AI programming to kind of get us to another level.
I mean, listen, I'm a former IBMer, okay? I worked at IBM for many years before I went on to do other tech jobs, tech sales, whatever, and then real estate. And so from a technology perspective, I used to think I was ahead of the curve. What do we used to call it? Bleeding edge technology? Oh, my goodness, you knew it all at IBM, right? But what did we really know? Nothing. Okay, all these years later, technology has really kind of surpassed everybody's expectations. certainly mine. I try and dabble in a lot of them, but I get frustrated because it's like I want that one place to go that's going to give me everything. What do you do for technology every day, or what are your favorite places to go to get information that you need to satisfy your client base?
So for me, I would say the most important thing that I use is Excel. As much as I use AI.
Create your own
and
your database. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I have my own databases for almost everything, whether it's new development or just lists of potential buyers or clients. I use that and I integrate that with a CRM. But beyond that, it's case by case. Whatever I'm looking for, I'll find it and I attack it. I try not to. I think it's a very big pitfall to get too consumed in this different side or that different side and learning this. And look, I'm all about learning and I do the learning on my own time. I'm not doing it during a business day. But, it's really important to just stick to what you're good at. And I'm good at managing systems and teams through Excel and my clients. So I stick to that. And yeah, of course I use other things and I do think there's a lot of potential in AI and I use it all the time. But it's not, the key driver in how I run my business. I run my business off of Excel and I think it's fantastic.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We're coming back and we're starting a new segment later at the end of the program called Your Secret Sauce. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. We'll be right back.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Okay, we are back. We have a bro show going on here again today. My God, we got to change that up a little bit. Ian, tell me a little bit about your goals. So you're a successful agent, successful team leader. What are your goals for 2024 and how do they differ from last year?
I have certain monetary goals that I'm not going to share.
Okay.
I want to...
That's not a bad thing.
Yes, I want to grow my team so that there's like another layer beneath them. So I have multiple super agents on my team where like they have their own teams or assistants or things under them. I want to expand my average price point massively up, and I want to expand geographically. I'm crazy. You shouldn't have asked me that question.
No. Listen,
excited.
If you don't have the goals, you're not going to achieve them.
My long-term goal is to like figure out a succession plan, right? Grow the business so that it's larger than myself.
How achievable do you think your goals are?
Very.
There you go. Right answer. Shane, what are your goals for 24 based on where you were in 23 and going forward?
I always am trying to double up every year with business and numbers, but I struggle with numbers because every time I think of the number that I want to hit, it annoys me because as soon as you get there, or you're even halfway through it, I'm already moved on past that. And then I look across and I see somebody else and the comparison of where you are. I don't think I'm ever going to be satisfied with the numbers, but as long as I just keep working and keep my head down and keep trying to help as many people as possible, that's kind of what's working for me.
One of the things I've learned back to the IBM days, and we're talking about a while ago, is never be satisfied with anything. You write your goals down in the beginning of the year. You try and achieve those goals. You achieve those goals every time you can, but never be satisfied because it's never enough and you want more. Yeah. Jay.
Yeah, so my goal is kind of a little bit of a funnel, right? So it's not just the team. And, when we look at the team, our goal this year is to get to $75 million. But it's also individual. So the way I work it with my guys, it's like, look, it's not just about the team. It's about what are your individual goals. And Frank has different individual goals as an operations guy versus Will and his specific areas. So, and it's important to put those in writing, right? Because nothing's in existence unless you have it there. And the other thing is expanding the team. Adding a producing member is important for me. And really just creating more peace of mind and in essence a little bit more free time would be very nice.
Isn't that something? Mr. Nile, I've known you for a long time, and you and I laugh and joke about it all the time because from the day I met you, I said, he's going somewhere. He's going to be, one of the top agents in this town. And
You called it.
What? And look at where you are. I'm never wrong, okay?
No, you're not.
You proved me correct, and I say that with all the love in my heart. You do a great job. But we still have teams. We still have lots of work every day. Your goals from 23 compared to your new goals for 24, what are they, and how achievable do you think they will be?
Yeah, so first goal on a sales volume, 250 million is the goal. On a new development standpoint, we are about 92% sold out at one of the projects we've been working on for north of 18 months. So very, very excited.
Great project,
I have
by
a
the
goal
way.
to get that done. We're also pitching a couple other new developments. So the goal be to not only close one down, but then bring in another. I would like to expand one more person down in South Florida. And then on the social media side, I'm launching my own podcast. Thanks to you growing me up in this podcasting business for so long. So that's going to happen. And I already have like 25 episodes done, which is pretty wild.
Wow.
So once that launches, I have a bit of a backlog so that I can release them. But what I'm really going to do in terms of the podcast is I have the goal was to create one long form piece of content, which is the podcast. And then from there, I use AI in order to chop that up into micro content. So I have multiple YouTube channels that I've started, TikToks, all kind of like on the low, so that once I start to actually release the podcast, I'll be able to start really showing, leading people to the specific accounts. But the goal is to grow accounts beyond just me. So, I could have Nile Lundgren, that's great, but then Lundgren Team, then Broker That Never Sleeps, which is the name of the podcast. That's going to be a specific TikTok.
I like
all these different, I'm basically just growing multiple accounts beyond just like my own name. Sort of like what Ian's doing, just in a bit of a social media and different way that like is bigger than me. And that's what my social media goal is this year. I haven't been on Instagram as much, but that's because I've been doing a lot of things like behind the scenes to set it up so that once I come back, we're ready to really explore.
You've always been great at technology and understanding whatever new comes out and how to use it to your advantage. I mean, I've watched you do that for many years, so I can only just imagine. And quite frankly, I'm waiting for that podcast. All right, look, working on a team, offers numerous advantages to you guys as team leaders, but also to other members of the team, as I talked about in the beginning. Things like leveraging, diverse skill sets and shared responsibilities. We could all be a part of a team here with one team lead, but we don't all have the same background or experience. We don't have the same approach to projects necessarily. We're all different, and you learn from that. Better decision making. Do you guys see or feel like the decision making within the team, whether it's something you have to decide or a team member, do you think it's better when you have a team effort to kind of talk about everything and understand what all the
100%.
pros and cons are? Yeah? No?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
I love my team because they don't think like me, and they have extremely different answers than what I would probably have.
No, there you go.
Yeah, which can be annoying sometimes to me because I like to, think that, okay, just because I'm experienced, I might be
We
right.
have to be open-minded.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a good ego check. But getting somebody's different viewpoint to see the world and things from a different angle than I do has been extremely helpful.
Increased efficiency. Do you find it being more efficient, or what you need to do on a daily basis because you have other team members working with you, working for you, and getting stuff done? Efficiency is increased? Yes? No?
Yes, absolutely. I think having a team is the most efficient thing that you could do for your business because you can't be in 100 places at once. So having a team allows you to actually do that.
One of the things I used to find challenging with team members is trying to get them to understand that if effective communications is so vital and so important. As I said in the beginning, we're not all the same, and some of us are better communicators than others. And one of the things that used to kind of ruffle my feathers was you need to learn how to talk to people in an effective way or in a convincing way or whatever you want to call it, because communications is everything. Right? In our business, it's everything. And when sellers yap and moan and yell because I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks, when I hear that, it's like, what do you mean you haven't been in touch with your seller in 2 weeks? Well, I don't have great news to tell them.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, doesn't
No
matter.
news is news.
No news, whatever it is. So, I used to struggle with communications, okay? Get it down and get it right. All right, as promised, your secret sauce. I mean, you guys are all super, super successful, real estate agents, team leaders. We can go on and on and on, talking about everything there is to do about a team. But for you out there, just watch them, okay? Because they're really pretty good. All right, so taking it a little personal, all right? Who is a living person you most admire? Ian.
Michelle Obama.
There you go. Jay.
My wife, Angela Lee.
There you go.
I struggle with this one, to be honest, because I always get information from so many different people, so I don't have a particular one.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
That's fair. I don't either.
Yeah.
Vince, I'm going to say you because I admire you
come
and
on.
I really appreciate you for. No, serious. I mean, Vince and I have an incredible
No, he's
history
sincere, this
together, and we've really done a lot of great stuff. It's amazing to see where you're at, and I'm really excited to jump off my podcast off of the heels of working with you for so many years.
Oh, boy. Thank you. That's special. And so appreciated. But I think it's important because, if we have people that we admire in our world, in our life, in our personal life, do we take some of the qualities that these people have that instilled in us? Do we share that with our client base? And I think that's the most important thing. What is the earliest memory of New York City that you have?
Coming here, the 2nd of November, 2012, third day of Hurricane Sandy, and the hostel that I was staying in had no electricity.
So that set up your expectations of what New York
that
City
was
is all
it,
about.
yeah.
I get it. No.
First time I ever came to New York, I was a teenager, or maybe 12, or one that I remember. But I went to the Union Square. I think it was like the Virgin Music Store, and I bought
Oh my God.
the Biggie Smalls Life After Death double CD, and that was like the biggest thing. I couldn't believe I was doing it. It was
And
amazing.
I got to move to New York when I'm old enough to do so because of that experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What about you, Jay?
My first memory was coming down to Madison Square Garden. I saw, and I'm older than you guys, I saw Julius Irving, Dr.
wow.
J,
Dr. J.
play in Madison Square Garden with those multicolored basketballs, and this guy jumping out of the gym even with those knee braces on. It was like just such a exhilarating experience, and I think the Nets won that day. But that was my
Okay.
first memory.
The Nets.
Ian, what is the best advice you've ever received? Personal, professional, whatever.
When I was in high school, I was a swimmer and I got into multiple schools and I wanted to go to one and my dad told me to go to the other. And that was the most pivotal decision probably of my life.
He was right or not?
He was extremely right.
It's so funny that I love that because sometimes we when we're growing up and we're young and we think we know everything and our parents tell us things. And my dad used to say, just wait till you get to be my age. You'll understand. And I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Never going to be that old, yeah.
Never going to be that old. But even when he was younger and I was, whatever, wait till you get to be my age. You'll understand. Wisdom, young man. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Wow, was he correct? What's the best advice you ever got?
Focus equals growth.
Focus equals growth. Wow. Okay.
A lot of focus. You can't spread yourself a mile wide and an inch deep. If you really want to get there, you got to focus, and you got to really spend a lot of time in it, 10,000 hours.
What do you consider your greatest achievement so far? You've been enormously successful. You're still a very young guy. What has been your greatest success? Achievement rather, and you'll have many more, throughout your life. But so far, your greatest achievement.
I think this is like not tied to this theme at all, but starting a team and actually being successful with it at a very young age.
Like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I find it astounding.
Somehow
at a
figure
very
it
young-
out.
You figure it out,
Yeah.
but you have to be in it
Oh, yeah.
to figure it out. Like the lottery says, you got to be in it to win it. Don't yell and scream that you don't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, right?
Yeah.
You're in the game, figure it out. Jay, what's your greatest achievement so far?
I have to say that, being the bachelor that I was actually getting married and having an incredible relationship.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but you were the Bachelor on television at one point too.
That is
really?
correct.
That is correct. He don't like to talk about it, but he was. And Mr. Nile had his own successful reality
right, yeah,
series
that's right.
for a whole season, which
Yeah.
bring it back.
Yeah, maybe bring it back, but maybe not bring it back. It was good. I got my name out there in a lot of different ways, but this is a great experience, and I'll chalk it up to that. So
I give it a like.
Yeah.
Did it
Thanks.
bring you business?
Yeah, it did. I mean, look, anytime you get your name out in front of millions of people, it generally helps. So.
What's your most treasured possession?
Oh man, that's good.
Still a young man, but what's your most treasured possession at the moment?
So my best friend is Jacob Toll. His father is Bob Toll. He gave me one day. I just had like all my money somewhere. Jake comes out of his house and he's like, "Hey, I want you to take this." It was Bob Toll's money clip, so I keep that on me and at all times. So yeah, that's one of my most treasured possessions.
Shane.
Mine's isn't really possessions. It's more people that are close to me. That's really what I cherish the most. My wife, my son, and my 2 dogs as well.
Okay, your 6-month-old son.
My 6-month-old son, yeah.
What's yours, Ian?
I think my wedding ring or my iPhone.
Yeah.
in no particular order.
I was going to say, don't even try to put those in order. Okay, you might get yourself in trouble. What is yours?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Mine is not a physical possession. It's my health. You might know, Vince. I struggled with chronic Lyme disease, and I overcame it once I realized it, and I healed it, which was a choice and a miracle. And like I never take my health for granted, and working on it every day. So loving that. Health is wealth too, right?
100%.
My 100%, especially in this business. So all right. So what's your greatest extravagance?
Driver.
Love it.
Yeah.
For me, yacht trips.
And you do them well.
Yeah,
Good one.
Thank you.
And you do them
you.
well. Shane, your biggest extravagance.
Flying first class.
Okay, there you go. Jay?
Well, first class is nice.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's hard to go back.
It's high-end wellness retreats. I'll spend whatever it takes. I just got back from one in Thailand, the most incredible, inspiring place called Kamalaya in Thailand.
Okay.
But I'll spend whatever as long as it's got every contraption, that cold plunge, that infrared,
I don't know
red
about the
light
cold
therapy,
plunge, but I get it.
so on and so forth. So
Okay.
I guess I'm my own extravagance.
You are. Last question. What is the phrase or words that you most overuse? Mine is, it is what it is. Okay? I mean, if I say that 100 times a day, What is the phrase that's most overused in your world?
What a life. I say that to me all the time. Grinds me, reflective, gratitude.
You're blessed.
What a life.
Ian.
You have to let me go last for one of them.
Okay.
I'm just big energy, so I'm always like, let's go.
Yes, you are.
Everything is let's go. So I say that often.
Jay.
The only thing that comes to mind is, and I think it just still works, it's let go. Let go.
That's an interesting one. Okay. Are we ready, mister?
I think mine is calm down, which I tell everybody all the time.
Listen, calm down is not a bad thing, okay? Mine is, it is what it is, but to me, that's a way of calming
No one's
down.
dying. It's just real estate.
Oh, yeah, there you have it. No one's dying. It's just real estate. I've used that before. All right, listen, we got to go. Coming back with my thoughts of the day, this is Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, we're back with my thoughts for the week. Being a part of a real estate team allows individuals to leverage each other's strength, thereby maximizing productivity and efficiency. For instance, while some team members excel in networking and client relations, others may possess strong analytical skills or expertise in negotiation. By pooling these talents together, the teams can deliver exceptional service to clients, leading to higher satisfaction and referral rates. Additionally, teamwork cultivates a sense of camaraderie and accountability among all members. Collaborating towards common goals encourages mutual support and motivates individuals to perform at their best. Furthermore, the presence of experienced mentors within the team provides invaluable guidance and mentorship opportunities for newer agents, facilitating their professional development and growth. From a business standpoint, working on a real estate team enables agents to take on larger and more complex projects that may be beyond the scope of individual capabilities. So, I believe the value of working on a real estate team lies with the synergy of collaboration, shared expertise, and mutual support. By leveraging the collective strength of its members, a team can achieve great success deliver superior service to clients, and foster a culture of continuous learning and growth within the organization. And that's our broadcast for today. Thanks to my guests for being here on set with me. You can follow me on Facebook, on Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok at Vince Rocco, or my website, thinkvince.com. John Wooden said, if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? And to all of you around the world, from all of us here at Talking New York Real Estate, thank you again for spending a part of your day with us. I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.